Spaces where you exit. Keep your head up. Press your foot on the pedal and never let up. If they say that you can't, that's when you get up and stand. Show them you can. Baby, you know you got it. Please don't let nothing stop it. What other option but to? And no matter the hate, just remember you're great. Shout out and say Vanguard for the.
Welcome to another episode of The Air Perspective. It's your girl Amber, and today's guest I have my lovely cousin Judy James Denny, y'all in the building. What's up, cousin?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. I can't complain. Bless the highly favored Clark sister voice. But today, I just kind of wanted, like I said, to give a backstory on what it was like getting into your career. Because not only did she study one major, y'all, but she studied two majors, y'all. And, you know, what it was like growing up with me and Brittany. Because I know it was a lot of laughs, a lot of humor at my expense and But yeah, so what made you want to get into two majors?
So starting off, I sort of going through high school. I didn't know, what exactly I wanted to do, and then I always, had a connection with God. God has always been a priority in my life, and who I sort of sought, understanding and direction from. So when I went into studying during high school, God gave me a vision of me being an architect. So he said, it was sort of like a still voice that said, architecture. And I was like, okay. I don't know anything about architecture, but I was like, okay, the Holy Spirit wants me to be an architect. That's where God's vision for my life. So then, my senior year of high school, I decided to take a civil class. So the civil engineering class was focused on more surveying, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But that's not necessarily the direction I wanted to go, but I know I wanted to do architecture. So when I was applying for schools, I applied for, I think, 10 schools. I got into 5. So I got into Syracuse, UConn, University of Hartford. I think it was a few other schools. I think it was one in Pennsylvania. I ultimately decided to stay close to home. University of Hartford had my major that I really want to do. So, and then plus they gave me pretty much a full scholarship. So I got the scholarship, decided on pursuing a degree in architecture. But then I was like, you know what? I really do like psychology. So I decided to do a double major in architecture and psychology.
Yeah, and I pretty much know that story because I remember, I think when you were applying to college, I think you had came to visit for the summer, I think before you went into school. And I just remember you kind of, telling me like why you wanted to do it. And I was just like, yeah, that's dope. And we definitely need more therapists in the world because our family alone, not to put us on blast, but you know, you know.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I was just like, wow, like she really gonna do this thing, and you did it. And
Yeah.
I've always, even though I never told you this, growing up, but I've always looked up to you because, it's cool to see people that are young and are on fire for God. And I was just like, I know back then, when mommy, cause she kind of, pushed it down our throats a little bit, but I liked how you just kind of like made it cool. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like forced. Like we could just have an open like conversation. Whereas mommy's like, do as I say, not as I do. We're doing this. We're going to church. Like no, let us figure it out for ourselves. But now that I'm older, like I'm learning, like you still could be cool and go to church. It's not all that bad. Cause I look at, Kiera Shear, there's a lot of young people out there doing their thing and, still be on fire for God, but still, have
Yeah.
that cool side to it. So.
Yeah, so I feel like with church, it wasn't to me, it wasn't being forced because my parents didn't go to church. I was the only one in the household going to church, but I always had a relationship with God. Growing up, I had like nightmares and visions of things in the end time, and I don't know why, but the Holy Spirit, I guess, convinced me like this is the way to go. This, living for Christ is the way to go. And then as a mother, just to piggyback of what you said about your mother growing up and how she sort of was stern, and it's sort of like something you do as a parent. You want to train your child up in the way they should go, and then when they get older, it's their decision if they want to stick with God or not to stick with God.
Right.
So, and I think it's just that's just how she was. But grow even my kids, I'm like, we're going to church.
No, I listen. For the viewers that don't know, listen. I can remember I was in high school and mommy started doing this thing where it was no secular Saturdays, where you couldn't listen to anything secular. So it was
Mm,
always Fred Hammond, Hezekiah
okay.
Walker, Juanita Bynum. And don't think if you ain't listening to the CD, oh, she had DVDs galore. So I mean, for real. But Fred Hammond was always my favorite.
Yeah, mine too.
Dietrich Haddon. Who else? The Clark sisters. Juanita Bynum, like if you wanna like get into worship and like mellow down and just calm your spirit, yeah, that's for you. But I was more so into the younger people, Kirk Franklin,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I like more energizing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even like with church, like, I remember, I think I was, 15, and I can remember going to a shut-in with mommy for the first time. Me, mommy, and Brittany. And Brittany was like, when they start shouting, we go to sleep. What? So when it came time for that part of the shut-in, Brittany was like, you got your pillow? I was like, I got my pillow. She's like, I'm gonna help you on the floor and I'm gonna get on the floor. I'm going to sleep. And mommy was like, mommy laying down. She goes, y'all sleep? I was like, well, I'm tired. I mean, we just got it from school. And then the pastor comes, he's like, can I put blessed oil on y'all? I said, I'm up. I don't know about Brittany. Brittany knocked out. But here, let me help you turn her face.
I never heard that story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that mommy was bad at it, cause don't get me wrong. I love church growing up as a kid, cause I was, I always wanted to be active in it. Sunday school,
Mm-hmm.
even when it was time, cause they would have, before we start Sunday school, where they would have the kids go up and read the scripture and do the prayer. I would always raise my hand.
Mm-hmm.
But never would get picked. It's like I could read. I definitely could pray now. I was playing old timers the shit. Shout out to Bobby because them hits on the back of the head. They work. They work. Cause mommy ain't play about that. No, everybody gotta be quiet. You gotta do it right. You gotta put some oomph in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely was the cornerstone, like you said, of my life. Definitely, even now, I still pray, read my Bible. But going to church, I gotta make my way out there.
Mm-hmm.
I still try to make sure I pray and keep things aligned, especially
Yeah.
with doing the show and everything. I just want to make sure that I step into what God has for me and, just knock out all the outside voices and just
Mm-hmm.
listen to him. And if it's not for me, it's not for me. When it's my time, it'll be my time,
Mm-hmm.
Cause I want that show on Channel 7. I mean, for 4 o'clock, 4:30, the Oprah slot, and it will happen.
Hmm.
Not now, but it's coming. God gonna make a way.
Yeah.
So, but since we on the subject of family, I want to know what you thought it was like growing up with me and Brittany.
Yeah, so with I used to always go to visit Amber and my Aunt Audrey and the rest of the family every summer, almost every summer. I felt like I was always the type where I had five brothers, so it was good to get a relief and be around females. So at Amber's house, it was Amber, Brittany, Audrey. So it's three females. And a lot of things that I know now, I learned from my aunt. I always tell my aunt that she's my second mother because, her older sister, which is my mother, was there. She was there every day. But I felt like my aunt Audrey taught me a lot of things, a lot of principles that I still hold dear to my heart now. And I try to learn from the things she had done when she was, raising y'all, and I feel like I implement that with my children. But every summer I would go and then I spend time with Amber and Brittany and Tim, and my grandparents are there. So I got a close relationship with them. And I was always able to see how it was to be in a family with special needs. So I respected that aspect. A lot of people who are not exposed to it, they just stare, but being in a position where I was around my cousins, I was able to see firsthand, their disabilities, how it limited them, but also ways in which they excelled. So Amber wasn't able to, walk, but she sure could talk. We used to always say Amber
Crawl
does.
and crawl.
Amber, yeah, she'll crawl, and she'll talk. She'll get around. That's one thing. And then the Brittany, she knew certain things that other people didn't know. So
Oh
like for
yeah, Brittany was
birthdays.
definitely with it. For those that don't know, my sister was developmentally delayed,
Mm-hmm.
and I have cerebral palsy. So it was like we made up for what each of us lacked. So
Yeah.
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 But
So.
he definitely was with it because she was considered what they call high functioning. So
Mm-hmm.
she just she was with it. We was with it. It's like, okay, you want to do this? Okay, let's team up. Let's make this happen. But it wasn't always that way.
Mm-hmm. They used to always fight. Oh my goodness. Always argue and fight. And I see my kids now and I'm like, oh my God, that's how my cousins were. And then just grow, because like I said, I grew up with all boys. I never was exposed to females like that. So when I got into the house, the Reese house, it was different. It was, the back and forth. And now I see my girls, I'm like, they're just going back and forth, just like my cousins did.
But see, the beautiful thing with your children is that they're close in age.
Yeah.
Mother herself, she spacing us out. I mean, there was a 9 year difference between me and Brittany. There's a
Mm-hmm.
6 years difference between her and Timothy, and there's a 3 years difference between me and him. So the
Mm-hmm.
dynamic, it was like at times I felt like Brittany was like my enemy, but then before she had her accident back in 2015, and even like after that, like I felt me and her got a lot closer because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I understand, I kind of understand why you were the way you were then, because now I'm older and now
Yeah.
I get it, and it's just like, now that she's not here, it's like you think about those times and it's like, man, we did fight, but we did love each other
Yes, you did.
because we did, stand up for each other. Because I can
Mm-hmm.
remember her coming to spend the night, and one day, mommy sent us to the store, and she goes, she's walking, and Brittany had like this walk where it was a model walk, like she just
The switching.
bend down Yeah, think of Tyra Banks, Naomi Campbell, like she just moved gracefully. It's like you didn't hear her come in at all. She would just be walking down the street, and then you got guys staring. So there's one guy, he stopped us literally as we was walking because he trying to talk to us. I said, "We good? Like she don't want to talk to you. Like come on, let's go." And he just kept trying to talk to us. I said, "Sir, didn't you hear me? I said we good." And I got up in his face like, "Back up, leave me alone. Like just go to the store." But you know, Brittany's like, "It's all right. He's just saying hello." So he, as we were coming back, he sees us again. So he was like, "You know, that's real dope how you just stood up for your sister like that." I said, "Cause sir, I be known. Oh, I know what type of time y'all on. Like I'm not just cause you see the wheelchair don't mean I don't know." So after we brought the groceries, Brittany's like, we went outside. Brittany's like, "Why do you always like come to my defense?" I said, "Cause I know how these dudes are. They see us because we're disabled. They think, you know, we bought that life. No, we not."
Do you think that they knew that Brittany was disabled?
No, I don't think they. Well, on the outside, you can't tell.
That's what I'm saying. You can't tell.
But it's like, what? I used to say that all the time when you used to talk to her, and even with Timothy, because I don't know. I just felt like growing up, I always felt like the ugly duckling, because either Tim was getting approached by beautiful women, Brittany was getting approached by, you know, decent looking men, and it's just, and then we just have Amber, like, it's just a little sister, like, and it's like, but now that I'm older, it's like, you know, I'm cool too, like, but I just went through that transitional, I guess you could say that transitional period with having a disability and trying to navigate teenage years and young adult years. It's still kind of, you know, it still taunts me a little bit, but you know, now that I'm older, it's like, I'm cool too. If you ain't with it, you can get lost because I'm just the type of breed.
Yeah.
But to get back now, I know how much you love Mommy Dearest, and you said you learned a lot, you know, from Mommy. And I know that you wish you could have been another sister.
Yes.
You are a mom of 4 lovely, 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 lovely little offspring who I just happen to love being the big cousin to.
Now, just don't forget about Troy. So it's 5 of them.
And the
My bonus son.
Yes. So 5 lovely offspring. So what is it like being a mom? Because I know that's something that you've always, you know, wanted. Because I've heard you talk about, you know, marriage and being. Yeah, she is married, guys, and did it the right way. The right way.
You said how it is being a mom and being married?
Yes, being a wife and everything, and just balancing both. And do you have any advice for the viewers that may be on their walk of faith and, you know, starting their journey out as, you know, being a wife and being a mom? What advice would you give?
I think the one advice when I was going through counseling is to always understand each other and always say I'm sorry. So there'll come times in your relationship, even if with my kids, there'll come times in our relationship where they'll do something wrong or I'll do something wrong. Is being able to let them know that if you make a mistake, you know, definitely say I'm sorry. So I say that to my husband if I make a mistake with him, or if I make a mistake with the kids, I say I'm sorry. One thing that I do with my kids is if they are having a confrontation or having an issue with each other, I tell them, you know, go to your brother or sister, give them a hug and say I'm sorry and give them a kiss. So every time they argue, they get upset with each other, they always have to hug and kiss. And it's just to say, I'm sorry, and it's a physical change to say that, I love you.
Look, don't that remind you of mommy? Like how she used to do that. She used to do that all the time. Like, I'm like, oh God. And you know
Yep.
how Brittany was, and she would give them fake kisses. I'd be like, that's not a real kiss.
And I think I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize that I actually was doing that same thing because I just thought about it when I was raising the kids. Like, no, if you have an issue, hug each other and kiss each other. It's sort of like a makeup, and I do that with my relationship too. But it's also, keeping God first in your relationship and understanding that God has grace and He has mercy upon us, and that we should grant that same grace and mercy to our children as well.
Right. Well, we got like 9 minutes left. So I'm gonna ask like 2 more questions.
Okay.
What is one thing that you've taken away from me that has helped you, like throughout you?
I think one thing is to understand that your different ability does not define you, and that even though you are not able to physically walk, or in my case, if I'm not able to do a certain thing, does not mean that you're different. That you always God has a purpose for you with your new ability. You know what I mean? So one thing about you is that you can't physically get around by walking, but you have that. It's sort of like your other senses are heightened, so you're more verbal when it comes down to things. The same thing with Brittany. Brittany wasn't able to physically, talk as clearly, but she was mobile. So it's sort of like you two sort of played off each other, and that's sort of like my relationship with my husband. There's areas where I'm strong at, and there's areas where he's strong at. So we sort of build off of each other's relationship, and we make each other better.
Right. Do you have any questions for me?
How was it? I guess growing up with cousins that had abilities. How did you feel with growing up and not being able to do as much because of your disability?
I don't, like I said, I don't feel like I lacked a good childhood because Timothy would wrestle with me. Timothy, always was the one, him and grandpa making me do stuff. Tim was, teaching me how to climb up the couch. Tim taught me how to go down the steps by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa was teaching me how to wash dishes at 4 or 5 years old. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
when you get that husband, you gotta learn how to be domesticated. You gotta learn how to clean up. You gotta learn how to. So I don't think I lacked anything. I think I was treated normally. It's just I did things differently, and
Yeah.
I still rolled with the best of them. So it's like,
Yeah.
and what I lacked in my legs, like you said, I projected it in my
Mm-hmm.
bones. And mommy always told me you gotta speak up for yourself. Like don't be no punk. I mean, there are. I'm still trying to learn that in certain situations and being around different people, but for the most part, I don't feel like I lacked anything with y'all. The only thing I wish that I did have with my female cousins, because y'all are the next best thing closest to Brittany, is more of a like better relationship outside of like everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that too. It's kind of challenging to be able, like you talk about juggling my family life with my husband. How do I do that? It's very challenging, every day my routine, doing my routine, but being able to also squeeze in my other family members. That to me is a challenge in itself. So sometimes I'm not able to reach out as often to other family members because I'm so wrapped up or trying to maintain my current situation.
Right. And it's just like that's the only thing that I wish that I had, because Like I think I shared this with you. I think when it approached a year after Brittany, it's like I need my female cousin, now more than ever because
Mhm.
y'all are the next best thing closest to
Mhm.
her. Because for those that don't know, my mom, she always had this saying, your aunts are the next best thing closest to me. So
Yeah.
when I look at my female cousins, y'all are like an extension of Brittany in a way.
Mhm.
No, y'all not exactly like her, but y'all are an extension of her. So it's like
Yeah.
not only are you not my cousins now, but y'all are like my sisters in a way.
Yeah.
So it's like I just, I want sometimes it'd be nice to just have that cousin empowerment. Like I got you, cuz don't worry, I'll be
Mhm.
here. Or what you doing today? You at the studio? I'm coming. Give me the address. I'm coming down right now. And even with my little cousins, like I want to have that bond with them like y'all had that bond with me because
Mhm.
they gotta know how to navigate with people with disabilities now.
Exactly.
I don't want them growing up and not being able to experience that first and when they have cousins like myself and Dominique. I don't want them not to feel that way and I want them to know who I am just how mommy wanted to know have y'all know who her, you know, who she was as a
Mhm.
so I would want that.
Yeah.
I want that. I gotta represent for my little cousin.
And I think that's a good thing. That's a good point. So, moving forward, I think it's good for us to just, even if we text or call each other, for you to,
FaceTime.
yeah, so you to see the kids because they're getting so big. Oh my goodness, they're getting so big.
And it's just like, even when you told me you was pregnant, I was just like, yeah. It always makes me feel good when there's, another life to bring forth into the world because it's like now you are not the little cousin anymore. You're the big cousin, so you have to be that example. And I want
Yeah.
to be an example for anybody, whether you able-bodied, disabled, or not, that you can do anything you put your mind to. And
Mhm.
that's one thing, I've learned from you, even though I've never told you, but just watching you go to school, do two majors, me getting with Alfonso, y'all getting married and having a relationship, doing it the right way. Like, you really taught me, like, you can have all these things and
Mhm.
you don't have to feel awkward about it.
Yeah.
And you can still have fun. Like, it's just, you're just a true example of that. And
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you because it was cool growing up with you and seeing different things and learning different things. And we've had plenty conversations. Maybe
Mhm.
not so much when I was in my single digits, but in my teens.
Yeah.
And even now, with me doing the show and doing YouTube, it's just like I want people to see that, I'm a living testimony and I made it.
Mhm.
It may not be made it to the terms of what y'all may think made it is, but we did it. That wraps up today's episode of the Am Perspective with my guest and cousin, Judy Denny. I pray that you guys take away from this episode that just because someone may have a different ability or disability to each its own, that we still can get treated like others. And as always, you can do anything you put your mind to as long as you put God first. Thank you. Bye, y'all.